Hi and welcome back, and this is part 2 of animating two-dimensional images inside Blender 3D. Sorry about that. I'm still sick at the time of recording this. Okay, so the first video was a little bit long. It was 16 minutes, longer than I wanted. This second video shouldn't be quite as long, as the setup takes the longest. So, okay, I'm going to kind of just show you a couple different animation effects with these 4 images. Sorry. To just give you an idea of what you can do, and then let your imagination guide you from there. So this first image, I'm going to make it start off, I'm going to make it scale up. So it's going to be disappeared, and then it will appear, and it'll get larger and larger and kind of scale up. Alright, so on frame 1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 3D window here. I'm going to press the letter N. This N toolbar, this numeric toolbar here, has got a lot of really good information here. So I'm going to keep this out for the rest of the tutorial. And again, here's my camera, so I can just kind of see what's going on. So what's inbounds, what's out of bounds, and there we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is with this first photograph here, I'm going to come here to where it says scale, and right now it says 1, 1, 1, meaning it's at full size on all 3 axes. I'm going to go ahead and click inside here and type in 0, tab, 0, tab, 0, and return. Okay, so it's at 0 scale, which means it's gone. And now I'm going to keyframe that. So I'm going to press I, and I'm just going to choose lock rot scale. Now, if you knew you were only going to animate the scaling of the object, you could go ahead and just choose scaling. But I might change my mind later and make it move a little bit. So I'm going to just do lock rot scale. So now that we've done that, now our dope sheet comes alive. And you'll see that we've got a whole mess of stuff in here, and this is not much, believe me. I want to simplify this a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the summary. The summary is basically the orange bar at the top that shows you all of your keyframes for all of your objects. And it can be handy, but I think it can get kind of crowded. So I'm just going to turn it off by coming down here. There's a button that says summary. Turn it off. Now, this is my one image, and it's basically telling me the name of the image, and it's telling me that I've put a keyframe on lock rot scale, and if I open that up, I get even more detailed information. I just want to click on this top triangle, and that's it. Now all I see is one keyframe, one diamond. Life is good. Not that the more information won't be good, but later on it's better. For now, it's just good like this. Okay, so I only have 240 frames, so I think I'm going to go ahead and maybe say by frame 200, that's when I want it to scale up. So I'm going to move my timeline, and I'm going to get to frame 200. And then with the object still selected, I'll come back here to scale, and I'll type in the value I want. And I'm going to go maybe bigger. I'm going to go 2, 2, and 2. There we go. So that's 2 right there. Now to keyframe that, again, I'm just going to mouse pointer in the 3D view, I, lock rot scale. Here's the second keyframe, and you can see that if I go back to the beginning, if I press play, you can see that the object is scaling up over 200 frames, and it's getting bigger, which is kind of cool. Okay. If I want to get any fancier than that, what I can also do is, let's say on frame 1, let's have it go towards the camera perhaps. So maybe I'll go, we'll click here, I'll go to frame 200, and on frame 200, I want it to be, I want it to go forward towards the viewer's eye, maybe something like that. Okay, so now that I've got it where I want it to go, I'll press I and choose lock rot scale. And now Blender has updated that keyframe that, so that's there right now. And if I press play, you'll see that not only is it scaling up, but it's actually coming closer to the camera, which you don't really see too much. It looks like it's just scaling up. I could have just animated the scaling up, but I'm going to do something now to make it a little bit more special. Okay, and maybe on frame 240, which is my last frame, I'll make it actually go up on the z-axis so it leaves the camera's view. And I'll insert lock route scale. All right, so here we go. And we'll start going much faster now. So here's the image. You can see it's moving on the negative y-axis, getting scaled up, and then it goes ahead and it flies up. And it flies up pretty quickly. Now remember, if you want to change or modify or edit any of your keyframes down here, maybe I don't like the timing of it, you want to come down here to your dope sheet, press A once, make sure that none of your keyframes are selected. If you press A a second time, all of your keyframes will be selected. So I'm going to press A to deselect all. I'm going to right mouse click and take this one here on frame 200, and I'm going to press G, and I'm going to maybe drag it down to frame 160 or somewhere right around there. And left click, and now I've just changed the time. Now the plane comes towards the camera a little bit quicker, and then it's got a little bit slower to move up on the z-axis. And so I'm going to call that good. Okay. All right, very simple animation. If I want to have an image just go straight past the camera, I'm going to move this Jackson Pollock in so it's nice and full frame, and then I'll move it off to the side. Okay. So now I have to decide, when do I want this image to come in. So again, you can have it do it anytime you want. These images might compete with each other a little bit, so we'll see. Maybe what I'll do is I'll scale down the image, so I'll press S, scale it down so it's not quite so big, move it off camera. Okay, so maybe on frame 1 I'll press I, lock route scale, there it is right there. And as this comes over, maybe right about here on frame 98, I'm just guessing numbers here. Let's go ahead and let's have it. As this one's on frame 160 where it's full, I'll have this one come over and it goes all the way across, something like that. Okay, and I'll insert a keyframe. There we go. So we'll see what that looks like. Could be absolutely terrible. Okay, so now I've got first image goes in front of the second image goes in front of the first image, and there we go. And it's off camera, and it's not doing anything else. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, I'll save. So you basically can just keep doing this, and you just make changes and animate on the location, the rotation, and the and the scale. So I'm going to take this image here, and I'm going to put this actually behind the camera. So this image here that's normally, yeah, there we go. I'm going to actually have it be here behind the camera, and I'm going to have it come from up on the z-axis and behind the camera. You can see that it's actually behind the camera right now. So I'm going to insert that keyframe, lock route scale. I'm going to clean up my dope sheet a little bit here. There we go. Okay, so that's the first keyframe there. And I'm going to make, I'm going to go to frame 240, and I'm going to put it here, grab it, put it here, and I'm going to have it go kind of way back like that. Okay. And again, I'll insert a keyframe. Okay, so now if we watch the action on that, you'll see that it should come from overhead, and it then basically goes in there like that. And there it is like that. To make it a little bit fancier, I'm going to go ahead and I want to rotate and flip forward. So the rotation axis I want it on is the x-axis, that's the red axis. So I'm going to go to its final frame, which is 240, and I'm going to come right up here to where it says rotation, and I'm going to come here to the x-axis, and instead of it being 90 degrees, instead of it being 90 degrees, I'm going to bump it up quite a bit. I don't know, I think I'll type in, you can actually do some calculations in here. So 360 degrees would be one full rotation. So watch this. If I type in 360 and then I do asterisk, then I can actually have a built-in calculator. So let's say I wanted to do 4 rotations. So I'll just press return, and boom, it automatically puts in 1440. I need to re-keyframe that, so I, and lock route scale. Okay, I'll go back, press play, and now you can see that it is flipping here. The problem is that it's going backwards. So what I think I'll do is I'll go to my last frame here, and what happens if I type in a negative? So instead of 1440, it'd be negative 1440. I'll reinsert the keyframe, watch it, and now you can see that it's actually flipping towards the positive y-axis, and there we go. So the biggest problem here is that this first image, the first image is really taking up the whole space. So, but the cool thing is that I can go ahead and I can change that by re-keyframing and making changes on the fly. Okay, so I want to make a couple little edits because this one image here is taking up a ton of the camera space. Okay, so I'm going to go to its frame 160, and I'm going to maybe move it actually back a little bit. Maybe I'll have it scale down a bit and move up here to the top left corner so it's not in the way. And I'll press I, lock route scale, so it's remembering everything now. So now it goes from nothing to the left corner to then kind of going up and out of the way. And so it might not be the prettiest thing I've ever done, but it's basically all there. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I think what I'll do is, instead of animating the 4th image, because I'd like to think that you hopefully have figured out how this works. Quick reminder, if you want to delete any keyframes down here, you simply come down here and press A a couple times to make sure that none of them are selected. You then right mouse click on the keyframe you want for the object you want, make sure you've got that correct, and then you can press X and you can say delete keyframes. Okay, so instead of animating the 4th one, I think I'd rather show you how to actually render this as an animation, as a movie. Okay, so once you're pretty happy with the keyframe animation, and again, this is not beautiful, but it'll work for this tutorial. Here's how you do it. Okay, so I'm going to come over here on the right-hand side, and you want to make sure you click on the little camera icon, which is called the render icon. And we're going to do, there are some extra settings here that we could do, but we're going to do the fast and easy way. Okay, so you want to come down here to where it says output. You want to come to the category that says output. And the first thing you need to do is you need to choose what's the file name and where is it going. So we're going to click over here on the right hand side where you see this little folder icon. And then on the left hand side I'm going to click desktop. And then up here where it's this blank box, that's going to be the file name. So maybe I'll call this image animation 1, since it's my first attempt. And then I'll press the return key again. And now you'll see that it's putting it inside my desktop folder, image animation 1. Now, this is really important. Right down here you're going to see a pop-up menu that says PNG. And if you click on that, these are the different formats. So these are the different types of files and how you can save your Blender renders, your Blender animations. Now normally a more advanced way is to actually save every single frame as a single image, and there are extreme advantages to doing that, but that's a little bit more complex. So for now we're just going to go straight to the movie. So over here on the right we're going to see where it says movie. You're going to choose this last one here that says FFmpeg video. Now once you do that, now if you don't see FFmpeg video, it means you're not using the latest version of Blender. Up here in the top center it should say V2.79, which is the latest version of Blender at the time of this recording. Okay, after you choose FFmpeg video, then you're going to come down to a category called encoding, and you're going to click on encoding. Under encoding, you're going to go here to where it says presets, and you're going to click on presets. Excuse me. And you're going to choose the second one here, H.264 in MP4. And that'll basically make an MP4, which I'm sure a lot of you are fairly familiar with. You see it a lot on YouTube and stuff like that. Okay, we're now going to scroll back up to the top, and you'll see 3 buttons: render, animation, audio. Click animation, And you'll now see in the dope sheet editor and in the timeline, you'll see that your play bar is going through, and you will then see your images sliding across. Up here at the top, you'll see it rendering one frame at a time, and you can see it's just getting there. If you need to cancel the animation because you notice a problem right away, you can press the escape key, and that would stop you right there. And up here in the very top left corner, you'll see a little frame counter, just in case you like looking at numbers instead. All right, so that's pretty much it. This is the big time. If this is your very first animation you've ever made in Blender, you get to see the first video that you made. So even though it is not the most beautiful thing in the entire world, we get to go ahead and look at it. Okay, so here it is on my desktop. It's called Image Animation, and you can see that Blender puts in the file name. It puts in all the frames that I did. So it's actually Image Animation 1, and then it puts in the frame numbers. So I can just manually get rid of those. And there it is right there. And I can just double click it, open it up, press play, and there we go. And there's my image animation. So if you felt pretty comfortable with this, just animating things around and manipulating them, animating things like text, and other things are pretty much the exact same. It's just basic animation and moving things around. The hardest thing is not Blender, it's of course coming up with a good idea. This would actually be a very cool piece to animate, all of these geometric shapes. That would be very cool. Okay, well that is going to be it for part 2. Hopefully this made sense to you, and I hope this helped. I'll see you in the next video.